Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon, or wherever you may joining me from. Hello, I'm Trish Lindo, and welcome back to Too Ambitious. I am so happy that you all are here today. It's a beautiful Thursday, and today I have such a spectacular guest with me, and I'm super excited for you to meet her. Now, if this is your first time joining the show, well, guess what? I'm going to tell you what it's all about. This is a show that celebrates Black women and women of color founders who are innovators, disruptors, and yes, very, very ambitious. Now, one of the women that is joining me today, her name is Amelia Badua. So let me share a little bit of background about her. So first of all, if you consider yourself a corporate baddie, but you're also ready to start your own side hustle, then you're going to love her. She is the founder and CEO of AB Careers. She is joining me today. She specializes in coaching and strategizing with ambitious women in corporate who are just starting their business and may need some help with their path forward. Pretty great, right? Now, I want you guys to show her so much love. I want to see those comments light up. I want to see some emojis. I want to let your fingers show her some love. Don't be shy. Please welcome the beautiful, the talented, the smart, the innovator, Amelia Badua. Welcome.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me here, Trish. We're going to have some fun today.
Yes, we are. I'm so happy that you're here. And, you're going to be dropping some gems too about how we all can level up, and I'm so happy that you created this business because I think there's so many people who could leverage the skills that you are going to be sharing with us today. So thank you for being here.
No, I am excited. I'm ready to jump in. So
Amazing. All right, so let's jump in. So, first of all, why don't we set the stage a little bit? Why don't you tell me about the work that you do through your company, AB Careers?
yeah, so my whole mission is to move women from fear into action. And that looks like building their side businesses, right? So most of us have had the entrepreneurial seed planted in us and have been too afraid to actually go out and execute on it. And so what I love to do is meet with women who feel like they're being pulled into entrepreneurship. They want to start monetizing their expertise
Right.
and helping them to support them in a way that they're able to do that.
Okay, and I love that. I think that there's so many women out there who are probably like, tell me everything, you know. But for you, Amelia, tell me, when did you realize that you wanted to make that leap from corporate baddie to entrepreneur? What changed for you?
Yeah, so I recognized it as soon as I knew I actually could make money from
Okay.
it.
All
So
right.
it was back in 2019. I started sharing content from a place of what I wish I knew. Back then, I was like a baby HR recruiter. And so I was
Mm.
learning a lot of things about resume and interview preparation and salary negotiation. I'm like, man, if I knew this, I could be
Mhm.
making a lot more money. And so I just started sharing from that place. And then I started having people reach out to me asking to pay me, essentially asking for my services. And I'm like, wait, you can get paid to do this? And so that's kind of where the light bulb started going off, is when people started asking me for things. And then as soon as I started actually getting paid, I'm like, I wonder if I can do this full time. What would this
Yeah.
look like one day? And so it was just the idea of being able to create my own money outside of a job, that was very alluring to me.
Yes, very, very alluring. In the beginning, what were some of the questions that you were being asked? Was it more so geared towards HR or other things?
No, it was geared toward like, okay, how do I do my resume? Or can you look at my resume? Back then, the market was a little bit different because it
Yeah.
was COVID.
Yeah.
And so it was more so if I said, hey, I didn't know that we should, if you're going to have a summary one, that's optional. But if you are going to have it, it should be structured this way. And then people would be like, hey, is the summary okay? And I noticed it was taking time for me to answer these questions. I'm like, I should be getting paid for this, right? So
Sure.
it was more on the how to do things
Mhm.
that I was being asked the questions on. And then I started seeing other career coaches that were getting paid for this stuff. And so then I started kind of watching them, seeing how they were doing it. And that led to profit for me.
Yeah, wonderful. And so how long has AB Careers been incorporated? When did you decide to start
Yeah.
officially?
So legally, I filed my LLC last year,
Okay.
and but I had been side hustling for a few years before that. So
Okay.
I didn't actually, I felt like creating an LLC was like, oh man, you're really, really doing this. So I hesitated
Yeah.
for a few years until I'm like, no, I'm serious about this, and this is what I'm going to do. And
Why?
so,
Mhm.
oh no, I want to hear the question you're going to ask. I think it's going to be a juicy one.
Why did you hesitate in
Fear.
start?
I was
Oh,
scared. I was like,
fear.
if I file an LLC and I don't make money within my first 3 years, then this is going to happen, or I'm going to have to pay that $800 fee yearly. What if I don't make, it's just all these fear darts that were being thrown in my head. And it felt safer
Mhm.
just to like use Venmo or Zelle or one of those scrappy things that most of us start using as a payment processor because you can't track it. And so I felt like I could have looser goals
Right.
that way, but I knew if I filed for the LLC, I would have to actually want to make a profit. And so,
Right.
and that was one of the best things I could have done, actually. Change from more of like the charity to no, this is a business now. You need to make money.
Yeah, yeah. And like Rupa says, who commented, fear is so real, and that stops a lot of us, from basically standing in our greatness. So,
Mhm.
I applaud you for getting over that hump and starting, your business. So tell me a little bit about how AB Careers is structured and how you can help other women to get past that fear like you did.
Yeah. So what I do is I have an expertise-based business, which means, oh, thank you. But that means that I'm leveraging the skills that I have learned and I'm teaching other people who want to accomplish similar things. And this is a type of business that pretty much anyone can do. Everyone has a skill set. And so how I'm running my business right now is I'm doing one-to-one retainer coaching. So I have a Fearless Her program that is 12 weeks. It's very high touch. And I'm walking women through the ideation phase of, hey, this is the skills I have. And I think this is what I want to do with it. And I'm saying, okay, well, let's take your skills, your passion, and what you feel like your purpose and impact is. And let's make sure that there's an active market for it. Let's make sure that there's people out there that have the ability to pay for it and that what you have is in demand. And if
Mhm.
so, let's start creating a pathway to profit. So, how do you want to get paid? That's very important.
Yes,
Like,
very.
you want to do one off services, or do you want to do programs? Do you want to do retainers, membership? Like, understanding how you would like to see those funds coming in before you even start your branding and all of those things is really important. And it's something I've had to learn along the way. So I'm pretty much helping all the women do things that I wish I would have known to do when I first started my side business to kind of accelerate their return on their energy and things of that nature.
Yeah, and it's really something that I think sometimes you may get really excited about the business idea that you have and you just sort of start, right?
Hmm.
You don't think through all of the other aspects of how to run the business, how to get paid and everything like that. What are some of the people saying that are taking your 12-week program? What are some of the consistencies that you're seeing with the women who are coming to you?
Yeah, a lot of them are brilliant for one. And so a lot of them have multiple ideas.
Okay.
And so it's about, okay, which is the best idea for this particular time? What makes sense
Right.
for now? Because
Yeah.
there's so many different ways you can get paid even with just one idea, right?
Right.
You can create products, you can do memberships, you can build community. There's just so many different ways. And so it's understanding what is the first way, the first pathway I would like. Because if we can find your one person, your one problem, your one pathway, then you can build a marketing campaign and sales around that one item or that one offer to validate it before you start building different arms to make money in all the other directions. And so for me, it's really guiding them to see, okay, this is what you'd like to see in the future. So what is the first step we can take towards that goal right now? What's the first pathway? And then as we learn, we evolve, then we can obviously, develop additional streams from it.
Yeah. And I think also too, to mention that because, these women are in corporate, you kind of need to learn how to navigate both, right? Because you're still working a full-time job. So you kind of have to learn how to scale in a real way that's manageable,
Right.
Is that part of like the learnings that you're teaching too, is how to juggle both of those worlds?
Right. So it depends on what they need, right? Some of them already kind of know. Some of them have been in a privileged place where they can kind of pause from corporate and
Yeah.
work on this. So it really just is individualized to what they're looking for. But my biggest common denominator with all of them is getting really focused and not burning out, right? So a lot of them do look at what other 6 and 7 figure business coaches are doing, and they see all the email funnels, they see all the offers, they see all the advice that you need to comment 100 times a day, and you need to do this and you need to do that. And I'm like, I understand that they're modeling, the version of success that you're wanting, but also keep in mind, a lot of them have VAs. A lot of them have designers. A lot of them have help in the support that you're going to be working up to. And so, no, you don't have to post 7 times a day to make money. I don't post 7 times a day or 7
No one does, right?
times a week. You don't have to post 7 times a week to make money. And you don't have to engage for hours a day on other profiles to make money. And so for me saying, hey, I was able to secure you as a client, and I don't do any of those things. I post consistently, yes, usually 4 times to 5 times a week, but we also have to build a business that makes sense for us. And for most of my clients, it is on part-time hours. So it's being very strategic on how we use those part-time hours and being very focused on that one thing,
Yeah, absolutely. And I got some stats here too that I want to share with you and everyone. It says 83% of working women stated that they want their own business, and 55% work on their side hustle while working full time. That's a pretty significant number, you know. And why do you think that is so high? Why are so many women right now, and men too, who are interested in pursuing a side hustle while working a full-time job? I think I know the answer, but yeah.
Yeah, I honestly think it's freedom. I think it's autonomy. I think that most people are tired of playing by corporate rules, and one minute you can work remote, the next minute you can't work remote, and dealing with corporate politics and all of these things. And so now that we do have this large social media era, we can see like it's possible to make money online, right? Before, I don't know if we knew it was possible. And so now when you see people actually doing it, you're like, well, I have an idea. I can make money. At least let me try to make money. So I think it's the freedom is one thing, but then I also think now there's like a mistrust that we can really place your stability and your security in an outside organization. I think most people understand that we're just tools, right? Like we're resources for business, and when they no longer need us, then it's business. Business is business. And we don't like that, right? We want to build our own safety nets and not have to be fully dependent on another company anymore. And I'm here for it. I think it's a revolution. I think we need it. I think all of us should know how to create our own income streams. So I love to see it.
Yes, absolutely. I agree as well. And I also, too, I want to say that, a lot of women are parents and, they're trying to juggle being a parent and working corporate and taking care of their families. And sometimes maybe corporate is not the only way. And so maybe, starting a business or a side hustle that turns into a full-time business is more effective, especially if you have small children. Have you seen that as well?
Oh, yeah. So I have 2 kiddos. And one's in school, one is not in school. So when I was working at my last company, it was a biotech startup. In the beginning, I had a lot of freedom-ish, right? It was remote when I wanted to work remote, in-house when I wanted to be in-house. So it did allow me to drive my kid to school, daycare, and all those things. However, I couldn't attend any of the field trips, like a lot of the field trips that I wanted to attend, just because, I have to work. And so
Yeah.
with me having my own business now, I can build my meetings with my clients around my priorities of my,
Mhm.
if there's a field trip I want to go to, then I'll block my calendar that day. I like walking my son to school and walking home now. So that means I can't coach during those hours. So it has allowed me a completely different freedom that I didn't have
Freedom.
before.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think a lot of people can relate to that. And, someone in the comments was asking where I found this code. And I found this, the corporate escape artist. She talks a lot about side hustles and everything like that online. So you can find her stats there. And then, I think that, those stats are alarming because I think sometimes we don't realize how many people are doing both, and some doing it really, really well.
Yes,
They
yes.
make it look easy, Tell me, what was the hardest part for you once you got your business started? Once you sort of kind of was like, okay, I'm moving in this direction. What was the biggest lesson that you had to learn? Because you were doing it. You're one of us too. You're doing both the things and all the things, right?
Yes. I think that's a really good question because I think there's different levels, different phases and learnings for each level.
Yeah.
I think if I were to go back, I think it was very hard for me to transition from side hustler to full-time solopreneur because I did not build enough disciplines or all of the focuses I needed while I was a side hustler. And I think I underestimated the demand of
Mhm.
being a full-time solopreneur. So I'm like, oh, it was easy making money in my side hustle. And, I think I oversimplified it. And so when
Yeah.
I jumped into full-time solopreneurship, I thought it would be much easier.
Yeah.
And it wasn't. And then I realized that, sometimes pivots have to happen. You have to test new ideas and validate them. And so I think that whole process was very difficult for
Yeah.
me. And it took a second for me to get my stride as
Yeah.
a solopreneur.
Yeah, and I think, I'm sure other people will sort of experience the same thing, but I think what's so great about your Fearless Her program is that you do help to sort of simplify that. So can you walk us through that program a bit? And so what can someone expect who signs up for this 12-week intensive, so that's 3 months with Amelia, by the way.
It is one to one,
Yeah,
very personal.
yeah.
So essentially, it's based on a 90-day goal, right? Which is why it's kind of personalized. So I have a call with the women first to understand if their idea is going to work for the program, if I can even help them, right? Because if you come to me and you say, I'm thinking about opening an e-commerce store or whatever it is, I'm not going to be your coach. And so I have to make sure it's an idea that I can actually help you support. And
Right.
so depending again on what your 90-day goal is, usually it's always going to start off with some type of ideation discovery process to
Okay.
understand what your idea is.
Yeah.
And then again, it's understanding, okay, so how can we identify who your person is? So helping people find what their niche is for their idea, and then
Mhm.
understanding how they want to make money with that idea. So you start with that first. And then
Yeah.
after you have your service, which is either geared towards a deep desire or a pain point for a person who has the ability to pay for it and who would actually benefit from it, and then saying, okay, this is the offer that I want to have. Then we can get into the fun stuff, which is like the branding, the marketing, and the sales. So, how
Mhm.
do you show up? How do you want people to receive you? And how are you bringing something different than what is already out there? And then, how are you going to market your offer? And then, how are you going to go through that sales process to understand who is this person, who can pay for the offer and who wants to pay for the offer, to actually make money from it? So, essentially, that's the 12-week program. But again,
Mhm.
someone may come in and they say, I just want to get the foundation down. So I just want to flush out my idea. I want to flush out the service. I want to flush out the offer and then pause for
Mhm.
a second. So it really is catered to the person and what
Yeah.
they want to do. But it's definitely geared towards beginners, people who are just starting out. They're taking that first courageous step. They haven't had a
Mhm.
business before. And
Yeah.
so that's
Yeah.
what I'm working with.
Super smart, and a great way to get a lot of people in, especially 12 weeks. That means that you're committed, right?
Mhm.
It
Yeah.
means that you are ready
Yes.
to make some changes. So super smart, and I love that. I do have a comment here. My wonderful Dan Rock says, "Pardon my interruption." Yeah, look straight ahead when you're looking at the camera, Amelia. He says it looks like you're looking off. So Dan
Okay.
is always on point. Dan is always like,
And
yeah, I appreciate you, Dan. I appreciate
I
you.
do,
Uh,
Dan. I'm looking at Trish on my screen. That's why I'm like having a conversation with her. So I'm like looking at her pretty face. But I guess I need to look.
Thank you. Thank you.
So let me look at myself.
Yes, look at yourself, Amelia, because
I'm
you are gorgeous. You are gorgeous.
Thanks, Dan.
Yes, thank you. So, back to the questions. So, how does someone get to work with you? What's that process like to get to Amelia to help me to figure out what it is I want to be when I grow up?
Yeah, so we have a conversation. That's what it is. So what it is we have like an ideation assessment. I ask you some questions. I want to understand where you're coming from. What's your current reality? What are you looking to do in the future? Some of the ideas that you have lingering right now, because by the time women come to me, they have an idea.
Right.
They usually just want me to validate it, right? And so after we have a conversation and I understand what it is that you're looking to do and where you're looking to go, then I say, okay, let's start this, and I get them onboarded and they get an actual action plan. So all of my clients know what we're going to be working on from a session to session basis over the course of the 12 weeks. And then if I need to pivot it because they're running, I have a runner right now, then I can do so. I can say, okay, well, you've already hit that. So let's go ahead and pivot the next session to this because it'll get you even closer. And that's how that process works.
Got it. And just to clarify, so when you say somebody's running, it means that they're over indexing, they're moving really fast?
They're moving really fast. And so if they come to me on the first session and we are able to flesh out their service idea, and then in between time, they've already identified their niche because they're having those conversations and things like that, then I'm like, okay, well then let's start working on the offer now. Why you don't have to wait a whole nother week to do that. Let's start thinking about what they're asking you for currently and what is the expertise that you have that you can actually deliver on. And let's put that into an offer. And so we can start doing that.
I see, I see. And so in terms of the services, what type of services are you seeing that your clients are creating or want to create? Is there any type of consistency, or is it like across the board?
No, there's a consistency. I'm actually attracting a lot of other coaches and consultants, all expertise. Yes. And so I love working with B2C, which is like business to individual client. So that's where I'm mastering. And so those are the type of women that I'm attracting. However, I have attracted a few like more business to wanting to work with other businesses, right? And so, but my focus is definitely business to individual consumer client.
Okay. Got it. And so I know on your LinkedIn you have, hey, book a meeting with me, to kind of let's start the conversation. Is that the best way to connect with you, to start the process, to see if
Yes,
it's even something that, you want to do?
absolutely. That's really the only way. Even if you send me a DM,
Hmm.
talk a little bit through the DMs, but then I'm going to say, okay, let's get on a call.
Yeah.
Because then, I can read people, it's the vibe
Yeah.
is different when you're on the phone,
Right.
or on a video call like this. And so I can kind of see what they're not telling me and dig into that. There's been some women who've connected and I'm like, you don't need a 12-week program. Let's just work together for an hour. And you can get this all, so the 12-week program is not for everybody.
Hmm.
And it's not open all of the time either. And
Right.
so I'm very careful. I'm taking more limited quantities
Okay.
of clients at a time. So that way it can be a higher impact for those who are in it.
Hmm.
So it's kind of like, even if you did call me like tomorrow, for instance, well, I don't take calls on Fridays, but next week, For instance, I may say, okay, well, the next availability that I do have to onboard in this program is going to be mid-September. And then it'll be 2 women for September. And then but we'd have to have the conversation over the phone.
Yeah. So basically you have this program how many times a year then? Or
It's
what do you think?
rolling. It just
Okay.
depends on like how many clients I onboard the month before.
Okay.
And so if I'm going to hit like my max of clients, then I'll just pause and say, okay, I don't want the service of the clients that I have to go down.
Yeah. And
Really,
that totally makes sense. That totally
right.
makes sense.
So it really just depends on how many, because with business, and this is something else that's very important to know. And most business owners will tell you there's ebbs and flows.
Yeah.
So some months will be much busier, and then other months it'll be much slower, right? And so I may have a really busy month the month before, and so then I'm like, okay, I can only take one client this following month, or I'm just going to pause completely, wait for one to offboard, and then I'll take another one.
Okay. I just adore how intentional you are about everything. I guess you kind of have to be, when you're running a business and you're a mom of two small children. So yeah, you kind of have to be. What are some of the ways that, or when I do this, what are the top 3 things that someone should consider when they are currently in a full-time role and they're thinking, oh, I really want to start a side business? In your opinion, what are the top 3 things they should be thinking about before moving forward?
Good question. I would say the first thing is, don't get me down because I'm thinking, so I'm looking off. I would want to understand the type of impact they'd want to make. I attract a lot of women who are more impact values driven as I am. Okay. So I think it would be very helpful, especially they probably have multiple ideas, right? Yeah. And so if you have multiple ideas, I would start with the impact that you're trying to make first and what idea helps you to support the impact the most. So that'd be the first thing. The second thing I would say is prioritize profit. And so a lot of us who love impact, we love values and stuff, we don't want to charge. We don't want to charge sometimes. And so what I would say to that person is, if you're currently working in corporate and you're looking to start a side business, really view it as a business and not a charity. And so you have to put on that business mindset to say, okay, how can I make profit, keep my profit margin high? What would that look like? And what would that service entail? And the third thing, and I want to say, when you're in corporate, you're used to getting that paycheck. Bi-weekly or whatever it is. It's like you're trained for that. Solarpreneurship or side hustling can be a little bit different. Yeah. And so I keep that in mind. And I think the third thing is it's being willing to fail. And that sounds really cliche, but it's the truth. Because you may have some ideas that do very well, and you may have some ideas that fail, and you may have to pick them up later, or they just fail completely. And failure is really relative if you think about it. So being patient with that idea process, being willing to fail and pick yourself back up is going to be important.
Yes. Failure is very important in order to find success. So, I have a question here from Kalia Phillips. She says, this is great. Thank you, ladies. Thank you for watching, Kalia. What if you are a business owner who has started her own side hustle, but is in the beginning stages? Would you work with a client at that level?
Yeah, because you're still in the beginning stages. And so what I would love to understand is, what is the idea? And if you're reaching out, what's the problem? Because that means you've already taken the first courageous step to start it. So what's not clicking? And then once I understand what the challenges are, what's not clicking for you, then I can say, okay, this can be the action plan. This is how we can run towards that goal.
Yes. Okay. Well, there you have it, Kalia. So basically, Kalia and everyone else is watching, you just need to just book a meeting with Amelia, it just needs to happen, because I think that is a really great way to start. You get the answers that you need. If you are sitting there right now trying to figure out, okay, what should I do? How can I move forward? Book a meeting. It's best to get your questions answered, especially at this early stages,
and I also want to say that because I think some of the women I work with, they feel, and I think it's social media, but I'm not going to go there. They feel like they should have it by now. Like, you know what I mean? Like they feel like, why is the discovery process taking so long? I'm like, well, a lot of entrepreneurs are not going to tell you their whole discovery process, right? Because at this point, they've already flushed out their niche. That's how they're targeting to you.
Right.
But you know what I mean? But there is a discovery process. There is a process where you test and you refine. And so with my clients, I'm like, it's okay. Even if they come to me with one idea and then in between the next session, they're like, you know what? It was a really good idea, but it's not aligned. I thought about the impact and my values, and it's not really aligned with that. I think I want to pivot towards another idea. You can do that in the ideation phase, right? Especially before you start your branding and all the other things. That's what it's for. It's for you to through all those things. I will also say, even if you have an idea and you bring it to brand, market, and to sell, and it doesn't sell for whatever, right? Because you have to validate your service too.
Right.
It's okay because you've learned how to go through that process. So you can say, okay, why don't we think it's sold?
Right.
Let's pivot a little bit and understand the real hunger and what people are craving for right now, right? So I think giving yourself grace through this, especially in the first 90 days. It's such a short amount of time, very short amount of time. It usually takes years for businesses to really take off, despite what social media tells you. It usually takes time.
Everyone's overnight success and they make millions in 2 months.
Yes.
It's not true.
Reality. No, it's
not true. So my last question to you, Amelia, is do you consider yourself ambitious?
Oh, yes. Oh, absolutely. I definitely know I'm ambitious. I don't think there's anything wrong with being ambitious. I think everyone can use a healthy dose of ambitious, as long as you are not ambitious to the point where you lose your integrity.
Right.
To go get whatever you want by any means necessary. I don't believe in that. I believe in being very integrous with how you market and you brand and of that nature. But I think it's a good thing, especially if you want to be a business owner. You need to have a healthy dose of ambitious.
Yes, you have to. And you have to have a healthy dose of believing in yourself. You know?
Absolutely.
Yeah. You know, because there are going to be moments that test you. So you know. So as we wrap up here, Amelia, just one last time, tell us how we can work with you. Where can we find you? Give me all the things.
Yes. Thank you again, Trish, for doing this. If you would love to partner with me, then you can either, after hearing this, you can either just book a call immediately. If you don't see anything is open on my calendar, send me a DM because I want to meet you anyway. If you sat here and you listened to me and Trish talk, if anything resonated with you, send me a DM and we can make some space to further the conversation. And that DM will be on LinkedIn. I'm mostly on LinkedIn. I check my LinkedIns most frequently. So connect with me and let's have a conversation.
Yeah. I love that. And I love how open you are. So slide into her DMs, y'all. You know, don't be shy.
No, I won't fight. Not at all. We can have a conversation.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Amelia, for your time. I know that is precious to you. So I appreciate you. Thank you for making time to be on Too Ambitious and dropping so many gems too. You know, I think a lot of people got a lot of good stuff out of it. So thank you so much. You know, and to everyone who's watching, thank you for joining me for another great episode of Too Ambitious. Join me next week because I'm going to have another amazing entrepreneur on. And if you want to be a guest on the show, slide into my DMs. Let me know. Holla at me. You know, I won't bite. I promise.
Amazing. Thank you all for being here.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your day.